Hello, hello, hello. You are listening to the Playing On Podcast. My name is Carl Markowski, and thank you for joining me. We're on episode 15. That's nuts. I can't believe I got this many out so far. I've been busting my butt trying to get these out to you guys and put some content out there and get some stories out there, and I'm really happy with how these have been turning out, and I'm having fun with it. So that's the main thing. So let's get right into it. We are brought to you by Carbon Paintball. They have the SC base layer over at carbonpaintball.com, and I have switched over to the bottoms and the tops, and so has Chicago Aftershock. We're all using those layers, and I've heard nothing but very, very positive things from my teammates and myself. I enjoy them. They're awesome. They have the compression fit with the arm pads. Awesome. I can't say enough good things about them. Just it's a great product, and you can find it over at carbonpaintball.com. And if you type in capital TPOP at checkout, you can get 10% off. So thank you, Carbon Paintball. We are also brought to you by Vantrition, who make some very cool and innovative paintball supplements. They have a pre-workout, which is their paintball preload, and a recovery formula, which is the paintball reload. They also have a bunch of different flavored proteins, and the reload and preload you can also get in different flavors. And you can find that all at vantrition.com. And if you type in capital TPOP at checkout, you can get 15% off at the end of your order. So make sure to do that. So thank you to Vantrition. Brought to you by Midwest Clothing. If you head over to MidwestClothingLLC.com, they have anywhere from different headbands to headgear to custom jerseys, custom pants, shirts, tech shirts. They also have tech mats, which I have one that I'm sitting everything on right now. It's my Signature Series edition, so make sure you go over and check that out at MidwestClothingLLC.com. And if you do check it out and you like it, go ahead and purchase it. And if you type in capital TPOP, you can get 20% off your entire order. So thank you, Midwest Clothing. And we are also brought to you by drpaintball.com. These guys are based out of San Diego, and they also have an indoor paintball field over there. But he's doing everything right, man. That he's offering financing at drpaintball.com, since paintball gear is not cheap. You can find anywhere between markers, pants. I also believe you can sell your old gear over on that site. The link will be below in the description. But they price match. They do all kinds of great stuff. You can find it at drpaintball.com. And last but not least, we are brought to you by Planet Eclipse. Since day one of my pro career, I have been playing with an Ego. Here and there, I've used a Geo, but I'm a diehard LV1 fan, an Ego fan, and now an LVR user and fan. So, they have stuck around for a reason. They've made some of the best paintball markers on the planet. No pun intended, but it's the truth's in the proof's in the pudding. It is. I mean, look how many teams are out there shooting those markers, and on top of that, they have amazing customer service, and they back up their product 110%. So, thank you, Planet Eclipse, and all of our sponsors for supporting myself and this podcast, and in the direction of where I'm trying to go. And now that all the ads are through, we can get to the interview, or the podcast, really. And it's with Billy Bernacchia. And I played with Billy a little bit on X Factor. I got to know him a little bit. And he's a stand-up guy, man. He's down to earth. The guy wants to win. He's competitive, but he's kind. He's a great overall guy. His accent, I love his accent. I love that accent over there. It's great. But he has that competitive edge, and that understanding. And I think that's why he fits in so well over at X Factor, because that is a tight little group over there, and I had the opportunity to play, and it's a tight group, and if you fit in, you fit in. If you don't, you don't, and that's what Alex runs, and Billy fits in just fine. And I think he's one of the best snake players out there, and one of the most consistent. So here is our little chit chat, and let me know what you guys think. Comment below, or shoot me a message, or even shoot Billy a message, and we appreciate you guys listening. So take care.
Remember that practice in Dallas?
Mm-hmm.
On the way back to San Antonio, that's when we were listening to them.
Oh, all you guys were?
Such a long drive. It was just me. It was me, Clint, and LJ.
Yeah.
We were like, fuck.
It's something.
Let's check out some podcasts. Mouse's actually was pretty good, and like I wasn't. Yeah. At first, I was like, "Oh, Mouse is so shy. He's not gonna talk." And he actually did a pretty good one.
Yeah. He opened up a lot more than what I thought he was going to, because the times that I've talked to him and had conversations with him, it was like 2 minutes here, 2 minutes there, kind of just talking really about bullshit at the paintball field, just kind of like, "Oh, how'd you guys do?"
Right.
Blah blah blah. But then, like, when I actually sat down with him and he kind of just opened up, I found out more about him in that conversation than I've known about him his entire career.
Yeah. No, his definitely came out pretty good. I didn't get to finish Oliver's, but his was starting to be pretty good. It sounded out. I mean, how could Oliver's be bad?
Well, it's weird too, because I didn't really know him too much. Just like a lot of the guys, like you know them at the tournament, and you kind of just know them on a 2-minute face-to-face basis. And I had talked to him a couple times before, but that conversation was like, it seemed different than the other conversations I had with him before. Like, he was kind of not a totally different person, but a different mindset.
Yeah, I mean, I'm not gonna lie, he definitely got a little weird. So, he went from like being this guy that wants everybody to hate him and fear him to this like, I love everybody, I love life.
Yeah.
But I mean, that's definitely obviously the better person for him. So.
Well, did you get to know? Because you played for Dynasty for what, a year?
Yeah, but he wasn't on the team. He was on the Ironman stuff.
Oh, that was what, like 8 or 9?
I actually wrote down all my teams just in case. Actually, Dynasty was 2010.
Yeah. So let's start it out, and let's kind of talk about how you started your career and everything, and so first off, where are you from? Because obviously everybody knows that you have the New England accent and you're a Patriots fan.
Yeah.
So so where is it that you came from, and how'd you discover paintball?
So I was born and raised in Connecticut. Milford, Connecticut is my hometown. Actually, the area in Milford that I'm from, it's weird because half of Milford is kind of like a woodsy area, and the other half is more of like a beach area. So I come from the woodsy side, and I grew up in a neighborhood with a lot of kids, and I was one of the younger ones. So there'd always be, the older kids in the woods playing paintball, and I never knew what it was. And
just randomly, like they'd be playing?
Yeah, just like randomly. There was a park down the street. We'd randomly be there fishing. There'd be guys running around with pump guns and goggles. Really? Yeah. And we'd be like, what the heck are they doing? And we're like, oh, it's paintball, So then my friend and his brothers, who were older than me, they got guns. And, me and the younger brother, who was more my age, we would go down and try to watch. And we'd be like, oh, this is cool. Until then, they'd see us watching and they start shooting at us. And we'd be like, oh, what the fuck? So we'd run away and be like, oh, this sucks. And then I remember talking to my dad about it. I was like, oh, the guys are playing paintball. They're shooting at us. So we can't go watch anymore. Mm-hmm. So my dad's like, well, why don't you just get a gun and, shoot back? So, I mean, it kind of went down. I remember it was midterms. I think I was a freshman. And after my midterm, my dad picked me up and we went to the paintball shop. And we were looking at guns and everything, and that day he's like, take it off the shelf, and he bought me my first Hitman.
Oh, nice.
So,
Good
yeah.
old Tippmann.
So, I remember he bought me a Tippmann and a bag of 500 green All-Star paintballs. And, like, that lasted me, like, forever. I thought that was so many paintballs back then.
Yeah.
So, I mean, you know, once I got my gun, then we'd start, like, organizing, like, you know, neighborhood paintball matches in the woods.
Oh, that's cool.
And, of course, I was, like, the younger one, and I sucked. And, you know, I was more just getting shot. And at first I thought it was cool. Yeah, at first I thought it was cool to get shot. I was like, oh, this is awesome. But, you know, then it's just like, all right, this kind of sucks. You know, everyone's ganging up on me. So me and one of my friends were like, let's start putting boards up in the woods. And, you know, before you know it, over time, like, we pretty much created a speedball field in our backyard, essentially.
Yeah.
And, you know, that was the thing to do after school. Hey, let's go work on the field these 2 days, and then let's go play the next day. So we'd be back there raking all the time and, you know, nailing more boards.
So do you guys not have like an actual paintball, like a legit paintball field around your area?
We did, but like we were so young and like so uninvolved in it that we didn't even know about it. You know, we just saw these guys at, you know, like we thought this was how you played paintball.
Yeah.
Just guys running around the woods. And I remember, like, you know, we it's funny, like my mother would take me and my neighbor, because, you know, we were like 14 at the time, and she'd take us in her car, and we'd go to like job sites where they're building houses, and legit like steal scrap pieces of wood and then bring it home.
That's sweet.
We did this at least a dozen times just to create this field.
I like how your mom helped out with that.
Yeah, of course, she was all about it.
Oh yeah.
And before you know it, we have this 6 speedball field where we're like legit organizing games every weekend. This was the thing to do. And, you know, then it kind of started getting, you know, a little more competitive, and we found this really cool place, like maybe 10 minutes from me, which was a warehouse. It was a redemption center. And these guys would set up this dark warehouse. I mean, you could see, but it was like kind of dark.
Yeah.
And they would literally have bottles, like bagged bottles, like, you know, bagged 20-liter bottles and skids of boxes of like Coca-Cola and stuff. Mm-hmm. And they'd move them around in this warehouse to create bunkers, and they played 20 paintballs per person. Yeah. So it was like, you know, there's usually at least 20, 30 people there. So it'd be like 10 on 10 or 15 on 15 in this warehouse. Everybody had 20 paintballs, and you just go, it's just a free-for-all. You know, you get an armband. It was red team versus yellow team always. And, you know, at first it was like the scariest thing we ever did. But it was all we talked about the next days in school. These were on like Wednesday nights. And granted, we're like freshmen in high school. So we started playing there. And then, you know, that place was, you know, they got more into it. And they bought like a sup air field for outside. And that's when I got introduced to like sup air and all that.
What year was this?
And then there was, this was my freshman year, so 2000, 2001-ish. So yeah, I think like 2001 was probably when I first started.
Nice.
So yeah, then, you know, we'd play 20 ball, or we'd play outside on the sup air, sup air field, and then as soon as it got dark, we'd go inside and play the 20 ball again. So
awesome.
It was really sick. I mean, it was, you know, I feel like that's where I got good at, like, you know, one balling.
Oh,
because it was 20 balls. You had to make your shots count. And, you know, at first I remember being like a kid that was scared, and I'd just shoot on my paint and just run off the warehouse and be like, I'm out.
Yeah.
You know, I'm out of paint. Let me out. And then, like, once I started getting good, like, I was like the one, like, you know, getting behind everyone, just sniping everybody. Mm-hmm. But yeah, I mean, that was some memorable moments, and I'd love to keep doing that. I know some of the owner of the field, they still have, you know, a team that they play with. And they were actually at World Cup. So I was talking to him. I was like, we need to do like a reunion game there because it was a good time.
That's so sweet that you can actually see him too, and he kind of sees where you are now.
Yeah.
And how far you've
come.
come.
It's really cool. Yeah, it's really cool. You know, I was this 14-year-old kid, scared shitless, and, you know, he's kind of like giving me advice like, all right, you do this, that, you know.
Yeah.
You know. And then, you know, from there, I started playing at Hogan's Alley, which was more tournament scene. You know, I'm sure you've heard of the team. That was my first national team, Hogan's Alley Factory. Mm-hmm. And that's where like I became, actually some of my best friends are still from that original team. Matt Derulo from Damage was also a part of that team.
All right.
Yeah, so that was where we got like our start and introduced to national paintball. And I mean, one of the main things I learned from them was just not to be scared. And they just taught us to attack. And, you know, we took our lumps. I mean, we were always there playing with like the Blonsky brothers, and, you know, we'd go up to New York and play against MIX at the time. And, you know, we got our asses beat until, I mean, we started in D3. 2003 was our first year as a team. We played 10-man in Philly, and then we did D3 X-Ball. And both times we made the cut, which was a good accomplishment for us.
Oh, for sure.
And then, you know, from there we went on to Division 2 X-Ball. And I think by the second event, the first event, I remember we got our asses kicked by GZ Silver at the time. And like we were just like, wow, we are so far behind. Like why are we playing D2 right now? Like we need to go back to D3.
Yeah.
And by the next tournament, I remember we beat the team that was like the team to beat. It was Twisted Revolution at the time.
Oh yeah.
And then we lost. Yep. And then we lost the Docks Raiders, but we ended up finishing like 4th place. And we're like, you know, we have potential. We can do this. And the next event was in Chicago, 2004. And we made it all the way to the finals, and we lost. So we ended up getting second. And the next tournament was Northeast Open. And we lost to Twisted Revolution in the prelims, like by like 10 points. That was when X-Ball was long matches.
Yeah, the 2 halves.
Yeah, and we ended up, you know, making it back to the finals, and we played against Twisted Revolution in the finals, and we just put a beating on them. Like, I don't know what happened. It was like, you know, it was one of those days where, like, you know, you have this force field around you. No matter what you do out there, you're doing everything right, and that was our day.
I love it when that happens.
Everything was working.
When you play a team like in prelims and you get a beat down, and you get the opportunity to play them in quarters or semis or even, you know, finals, hopefully, and something like that. That's got to be a great feeling. Yeah.
So we end up beating them, and the next event is World Cup. We end up playing 5-man first, and we tried playing pro. It was Pro-Am at the time. Not a lot of teams play. I think the best team that actually won was the Naughty Dogs. The Naughty Dogs beat us in the finals. So, I mean, for us, it was just really cool to make it to the top 2 in pro.
Oh, yeah.
And I mean, I remember that was when World Cup, we were there for like 10 days playing paintball because we played a 5-man event first, and then the X-Ball was second. And we went all the way through the winners bracket in World Cup, and we ended up beating Team Ultimate in the finals.
Oh, I remember Ultimate.
Yep. And then we won the World Cup, so that was a huge accomplishment for us. It just, you know, these boys out of Connecticut with, you know, no sponsors really, just, you know, support from our local field, and, you know, we're all just like paying our way to get there and just working our ass off every weekend. So
I had to have played you guys.
It was really
when I was
cool.
on Tittle. I swear I played Hogan.
Yeah, you probably did for sure. I think the next year we might have played you guys in. I want to say that was 2005.
Well, I know
maybe 2004. I'm not sure. What year did you?
It's 2004. The end of World Cup 2004 is when was my first event with Excessive. But that whole year, and I believe the year before, we were D2 X-Ball.
Okay. Yeah, so we started off D2 all the way up until World Cup, and then we split the division, and we ended up having to bump to D1.
We had to have played you guys at least once.
Yeah, I'm sure we did, but I definitely remember playing Titman. I just can't remember if you were on the team or not. But yeah, either way, I mean, those were some good times in my paintball career.
Dude, Divisional, so I try and always think back on it, because I feel like the Divisional field and Divisional play and that whole kind of group and is its own separate world, right, from the pros, because we have our little groups and everything in the pros, and but there's such a different feeling, because I remember those divisional games. I remember playing in those divisions, and it's such a different feel over there, so much grittier almost. You know what I mean?
It really is. It's because, I mean, you're paying for this. This is your life right here. Like you're working, you know, I remember like most of the guys on the team would work and their whole paycheck would just go to paintball events.
Mm-hmm.
So, I mean, like you're going out there and you're just fighting, you know, you're not sponsored. You don't have any fans out there. You're just, all you have are your teammates with you. And that's it. So, I mean, it's cool because I coach a D2 team, preferred mob in D2. And, you know, like I see myself when I was younger on, you know, in that team. And I know the feeling. And, you know, it's cool to actually go down there and actually see what's going on in the lower divisions. And there's some really good talent still down there, you know.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, there's definitely a lot of players that are, you know, going to be playing pro eventually. So it's cool to go check that out.
Yeah, for sure. Because, you know, and just like every generation, you know, we only know the upbringing that we have coming through the ranks, right? And every generation has its own you know, version of pros coming up and divisional teams that are staying there and fights and battles that are happening. And you know, there's always going to be that next group and the next run of pro teams and players.
Right.
And
if you ask me, I mean, it's almost the way pros play the game and the way division play the game it's almost completely different games. Because me and Ryan Brand try to run some of our game plans and they just don't work because it's like, wait a second, like we're not playing against a pro team that's expecting something like this. You know what I mean? So like it just doesn't work. Like it's almost two different games being played, the way pros play the game and the way divisional guys play the game. And I mean, I remember as a divisional player looking on the pro field and being like, holy shit, like, you know, like their, you know, lanes are perfect. Like it's all about timing. I mean, you know, in pro league, it's all about your timing.
Right.
And in D2, like it's not really about timing. It's about who's going to make the move first.
Mm-hmm.
You know, so it's different, but I mean, you know how it is.
Do you think the pro level is, at least coming from, you know, from your perspective, do you think the pro level is very predictable, or do you think the pro level is the pro level because we are unpredictable?
I think it's only predictable because we've all been playing against each other for the past 10 years. Mm-hmm. I mean, I feel like, you know, like coaches nowadays are, you know, like I hear Ryan Brand, you know, before games, and he's like, okay, you know, I remember it was against the Ironman. He's like, all right, I know Todd watched our games. I know Todd, you know, is going to change his game plan. So I need to prepare myself to change what Todd is going to change. You know what I mean? So it's almost more on the coaches nowadays. Like when we're playing player to player, like I know what my players are going to do on my side. I mean, you know how it is. You know, you're playing against Keith Brown, you know what to expect in the snake. You're playing against Mouse, you know what to expect. Yeah. And I feel like, to a point, I feel like the players can predict it more, and I think it's more on the coaches now to kind of predict what kind of style game plan they're gonna run.
Yeah, because I feel like from the player's perspective, from our perspective, like the front position is like how and where I shoot is kind of, I'm thinking about it like, okay, what would I do? Like, where would I come out and snap shoot if I was on the other side of the field? Or, you know, what kind of move would I do? So then, okay, I'd shoot this lane because if I were him and I were up bodies like that, I would try and make this move. It's kind of like, and it's weird because you're trying to predict what they're going to do without really, really knowing what they're doing.
Right. It's like a game of chess. I mean, you're trying to plan out 3 moves ahead and also try to think like, okay, if I was in this situation, I would probably do this. So let me be prepared for this, but also get ready to do my move, you know?
Yeah. And all making that decision in a second.
In like the snap of a finger. And that's why I love that, like, you know, you're playing a match. So like, it's not like the old days with 5-man. If it didn't work, like, you know, you have to wait until you can maybe play this team again in the finals. Mm-hmm. You know, here it's like, all right, we're coming right back out, you know, time to like think differently. So you kind of have to adjust how you think sometimes. Yeah. I mean, it's a game of chess out there every time.
So do you like the split deck, or would you rather go just?
I mean, like to me, I personally would rather, you know, for a spectator view, I think, you know, not split deck is the way to go, because I feel like people, you know, like I bring my girlfriend sometimes, I bring some friends to events, and, you know, it gets confusing when it's like, okay, this team's up, wait, is that score for this team or whatever, you know, so people who don't know paintball, right. But like, I do like split deck to get more games running, more action played, you know, less time where there's nothing happening. And it's better for us to take a little longer break so we don't need as many players and you can play, your starters more often. So, I mean, there's pros and cons for both.
Yeah, I mean, I'd even like to see it if they can even cut off a minute. Like, because right now it's like 45 seconds?
Yeah, I think it's 45 right now.
Like, even if we went to, let's say, a minute, and then but just had it Team A versus Team B, and then have it a minute in between points, and then, but even then it's kind of tough because I miss playing, those quarters and finals games where it's just you versus them, and you can focus on point-to-point basis, and there's no downtime as far as your play goes. I feel like that's such. I like being in the action all the time, and you can focus. I feel a lot more when the momentum is kind of just going for the games.
Yeah, no, I agree, and I personally like that style better too, and that's why I try to get to the finals so we can play that.
That's a good strategy. All right, so you guys win Hogan's Alley.
Yep.
You guys win. You guys are. That was what you said.
2004.
2004. Now going into
2004 D1
next year.
So 2005 is where my career started changing, and it was mainly by a guy named Jeff Stein. He was So I remember I used to look at Jeff Stein the way I look at like Bill Belichick now, as like Bill Belichick is the coach of the best football team ever. And, like the Hurricanes weren't the best team ever, but they were the best team around us, the best 7-man team around us. So I'd always look at him as like this, I didn't know him for shit. So like when he would talk to me, I'd be like, holy shit, like this guy knows who I am.
Yeah.
Maybe I have a chance to play with the Hurricanes one day. And we actually, Hogan's Alley picked up a couple of the Hurricanes to play with us, to guest. And
they didn't play X-Ball?
They didn't play X-Ball, no. That year they did not. They only played Pro 7-man.
Gotcha.
And in 2005, that was when, so it was Huntington Beach was the first event. And the Hurricanes played, and they didn't do well at all. So some of the guys, it was Rob Landry, Thomas Mantoni, and Brian Gigliotti. They were guesting with Hogan's for X-Ball. And for Tampa, which was the second event, they were like, hey, let's pick up this new guy. His name's Billy, plays a snake. He's got a lot of potential. Let's see what he can do.
So did you always play the
snake?
So
I started, yeah, pretty much. So funny story if you want to rewind a little.
Yeah, let's rewind.
So it's weird because I remember my first X-Ball event. It was World Cup 2003, and I played the Dorito side. But I only played the Dorito side because it was the spectator side. So I kind of always wanted to put myself on the spectator side.
Right.
So after that, the snake side became the spectator side. So I started playing the snake. And it just kind of became a thing where, like, nobody really likes to play the snake. And if you have somebody that's good at it, why take them out? You know what I mean? So
yeah.
I just kept playing it and just kept getting better at it. And it just became my thing.
Now, do you think coming from a snake player to a snake player, do you think it eventually does become fun though? Or do you just consider it like a dirty job that you have to do and you just kind of power through it?
I love it. There's no better feeling to me than getting down the stake and popping up and having 3 guys' backs to you.
Yeah.
To me, like, that's an undescribable feeling.
That is pretty fun.
But yeah, it does suck. Like, there's a lot of work to it, but it's got the best reward. So, it's hard to say that it's a shitty job, but I enjoy it.
So Hurricanes decide to pick you up solely because you're a snake player?
Not only because I was a snake player. Mainly, they were kind of missing that spot, and they were just looking to kind of change their team a little bit, just add a younger guy, and bring some new talent, and just see where it went.
Right.
I remember it was only a 1-event deal at the time. It was kind of just to see like how I fit in and how it worked out, and I remember the first game we played was against the London Tigers, and they had like Tim Montrester and those guys, and I remember being in the snake against Tim, and like I was going to bunker him or something, and like something happened. He popped up, like smoked me, and I got shot, and walked off. And I just remember feeling like, damn it, like that was my big chance to like, show them I could do something. And our next game was against Dynasty, and I'm like, fuck, like now I got to play against Dynasty, or now I actually didn't even expect them to play me. So I remember they called the line who was playing, and it was I was on it. So first time playing pro, first time playing Dynasty. They told me to go snake off the break. I do. It was kind of a longer game from what I remember. I remember coming out down the wire at one point and shooting Oliver, and like in my head I knew it was Oliver too, and I was just like, holy shit, just like thinking like,
big grin on
wow,
your face.
That was awesome, yeah. And then we slowly closed that game out, and we ended up winning it. And to me it was like, holy shit, I beat Dynasty my first pro event. I mean, of course they won the event, but
right.
Well,
your confidence had to have been boosted at that point.
Yeah, and from there on out, no matter who we played next, it was like, hey, I just made a snake against Dynasty. I just shot one of the best players in the world. Like, I can keep doing this. So, my confidence level grew. And I remember we went, I think it was 4-4, or I don't remember how the points went, but we just missed the cut, and it was a good job for the Hurricanes at the time. It sucked not making the cut, but it showed we had potential and we can do good. So, obviously from there I made the team, and I became one of the core guys. So
yeah, that's cool.
I think I'm trying to think back. I want to say we made the cut in the next event, but we didn't make the top 4, because it went to top 8. You played all 8 teams, and then you make top 4 after that. So I want to say we made the top 8. We did okay, but we didn't make the top 4. But like we were like this young team that had a lot of potential. And then
I remember playing you guys, and and actually that's where I remember you from, was the Hurricanes, from playing 7-man.
Yeah. So the next event after that was Miami 2005, and that was the ESPN filming. Yeah. And I feel like that was the event that like made me known to all pro players. It was just I played really well, and the Hurricanes played really well, and I just remember before the event, Jeff Stein had told us like, hey, if we make top 8, we get to be filmed by ESPN, because they only film the top 8 teams. They didn't film the prelims. So it was hard enough for us to make top 8 as it was. And, now with this kind of pressure, it's like, holy shit. So, and I remember, I want to say it was JC Whittington, just being JC, and he kind of like said something to me because I was like talking about it. And he kind of like said something like cocky, like, well, what do you care? You're not going to be on it anyways. And I was just like, okay, cool. You know, and whatever. Long story short, we ended up playing Arsenal, and we beat them, and we made the top 8, not only because of that game, but we played well. And, we actually had a decent showing in the top 8. And I think that's where my snake career was defined, was me on ESPN consistently in the snake, being productive and just shooting people. And it was a tough field too, from what I remember. So there wasn't a lot of snake action. So like me being this young guy able to like continuously do it, it was what I remember. Matty Marshall came up to me. Funny story actually. After that event, JC actually picked up me, Thomas, and Son at the time. So I guess I won his respect that year.
There you go.
And I remember being at a practice with Arsenal that year, and it was the first event of the year, and Matty Marshall came up to me, and I didn't know Matty. I knew who he was, obviously. And he's like, hey, like, dude, I've been wanting to meet you. You're Bernacchia. How do you say your last name? He says. And it's like, Bernacchia. And, I start talking to him. He's like, dude, call your grandparents, call your aunts, call your uncles. Like, everybody's going to want to watch this. He's like, you killed it. Like, good for you. You're going to love it. Yeah. So, yeah, like that was, what kind of defined my snake career.
Yeah, that was a fun event too because I was playing on New York Energy at the time, and we had won the semi-pro. We had won a pro spot at that event.
Yep,
and
I remember.
I was playing that snake side, and it was. See, I think honestly, overall, I really, really enjoyed playing up the middle and snake on 7-man.
Yeah, for sure.
I feel like there's not as much pressure in during 7-man games on the snake side like there is in X-ball. Because I feel like X-ball, the expectation is to get in the snake and go the fuck down the snake, right? And the same mindset goes into the 7-man play, but you have a little bit more time. You can, I feel like you can get a little bit more comfortable and be sneaky as shit too,
Right. And granted, the bunkers were a little bigger back then, so it was a little easier to move around. So yeah, I definitely hear what you're saying.
I miss 7-man, man. It was so much fun. I feel like that was. I'm not trying to like knock X-ball or anything like that because that's fun too. I like the athleticism. I like the pace. But I think 7-man is truly like my favorite, hands down. Just I like kind of the time in between games too, where you got to sit down with the team and kind of go over the field and everything, and kind of strategize against all these other teams, and I enjoyed it so much. It was so much fun.
I remember the one thing I didn't like about 7-man was back in the day when you had to walk like 5 or 6 fields. Remember? Yeah. There used to be different field layouts. That was the one thing I didn't like about 7. But yeah, everything else I agree. It was more of I mean, X-ball now without coaching is kind of back to the way I like it, with no coaching and working together, communication, and to me, like, communication is one of the biggest parts of our game now.
Yeah.
I mean, if you can't communicate with your team and figure things out, there's no way you're going to make it.
Yeah.
You can't do it by yourself. You can't do it. You have to work together, and not only work with your side, like work with your whole field. And that's one thing that X Factor struggled with in the beginning, and we're starting to get better at that, which is why we've been more consistent this year and last year.
Yeah. No, I can definitely
there's
see
always
that.
room for improvement. We're always trying to get better at that for sure.
Do you remember on the Super 7s, do you remember the center tent with the oranges and the bananas and the water cooler and everything?
I do remember that, yes. I thought you were talking about a bunker at first.
Oh, no. Like in the pits.
Yep. Yeah, there was like water and yep. Yeah, for sure. That was definitely cool.
I wish they would do that.
It was cool to like kind of like all like, group around together and,
Yeah, because it was like
kind of just like bullshit.
10 minutes in between games or some shit. So I'm going to go grab like 3 or 4 oranges, a couple bananas, come back.
Yeah. Yep.
It was fun.
Yeah, that was cool too.
So, all right, so you get picked up by Arsenal after that 2005 Miami event.
Yeah.
I mean, how did that go down? Was it
so?
Kind of hey, I'm going to play for them?
Well, I mean, it was kind of like, I remember the Hurricanes were Eclipse at the time, and they were changing sponsors to some alien gun. And to me, like, I just didn't want to shoot the gun. I love the team, I love the guys, and to me, I thought Arsenal was the better team at the time.
Mm-hmm.
I kind of regretted the decision after it was made, but what can you do? It still led me to where I am today, so whatever. But yeah, I was actually on Doc's Raiders for X-Ball at the time.
Yeah. Because
I got picked up 2005 at the end of the year by Doc's, and we won the World Cup. It's hard to put all this together, 7-man and X-Ball, but yeah. So like, after Hogan's was done, I went to Doc's for World Cup. And the next year they were having a pro team, which was going to be the Miami Raiders. So I made the pro team. They had a tryout. That was when Strange kind of merged with us, and they weren't sure who they were going to pick up for the pro team. And I remember Paul Richards said something to Doc, and Doc had told me, like, he's like, "Hey, that Billy kid, yeah, he's playing with the pro team." So that was pretty cool.
Dog.
So, what's that?
Is that the dog?
Oh yeah. Kyo's running around the house. After that, it was, I had to play I was playing 7-man with Arsenal because I had already committed to them in the off season.
Yeah.
And I was playing, with Doc for X-Ball. And Doc was always like, hey, you need to play 7-man with us. And the only reason I didn't want to do it was because they didn't have a pro spot. They were playing semi-pro, trying to win a pro spot.
Right.
And I was already on a pro team, and I was like, man, I want to play pro. I joined Arsenal. Let me just play with them. Long story short, after the second event, I realized Arsenal wasn't a home for me, and we kind of just went our separate ways. And I joined Docs full time, and we ended up winning the season that year, winning a pro spot. So that year and the following year, I was full Docs Raiders, and we had a really good team. We just never could find that last bit effort to win an event, but we were in the top 4 a decent amount of time in X-Ball. We finished in top 4 with 7-man too. So those were, that also was a good part of my learning how to be actually play more like a professional paintball player. Like Paul Richards kind of elevated my game by kind of slowing me down, because at that time I was just like a rocket that went to the snake.
Right.
Snake off the brake, go as fast as you can. And Paul kind of taught me how to think a little more methodical, and how to think about my moves ahead. And
right.
And I'm definitely thankful for the days I had with Docs Raiders because of that reason. And I remember when I was leaving Docs, it was kind of a hard thing for me to do because I really liked Doc and I really respected Doc, but I remember Coach Paul had moved on, and the team was changing, and a lot of things just weren't going the way it was. And I was home practicing a lot with the Hurricanes, and I kind of missed where I came from.
Yeah.
So, long story short, again, it was World Cup, and I called Doc, and I was like, hey, I want to play 7-man with the Hurricanes again. So I'm quitting the 7-man team, and he flipped out. He was like, "You mother, I'm gonna kill you." I love Doc, and that was Doc's character. I mean, I miss him a lot. I wish I had an opportunity to see him before he passed away, but unfortunately I didn't.
Yeah, the few times I had interactions with him, he was a character.
I mean, he was just, dude, he was one of a kind. I mean, he was just, one of the nicest, funniest guys, and he was just so competitive, and that's what made him crazy. But, so I quit the 7-man team and basically got, told, you're not going to play 7-man, you're not going to play X-Ball either.
Right.
So I went back to the Hurricanes, and we started finishing in the top 4. So to me, it was the right move. We were doing well. And, now I'm searching for an X-Ball team. And here comes Mike Hinman. And that's how I became San Diego Aftermath player.
So how did that come? How did that come about? Like, how did you just know Hinman? Like,
I knew Hinman, just from going, being at the field and talking to him, playing against him he was on Dynasty at the time, and we respected each other, and he was, I thought, to me, like, he was one of the best coaches also at the time.
Right.
So I remember hitting him up, being like, hey, I need a team for World Cup. You think I can play with you guys? And they were D1 at the time, and they were like, yeah, for sure. So I ended up playing with them, and then the next year they were like, hey, we're going pro. Are you sticking with us, or are you going somewhere else? And I was like, I remember thinking about it. I was like, give me a couple of days to think about it. And I ended up telling them, I'm like, yeah, I'm in. Let's do this.
I never remember you playing for San Diego Aftermath for some reason.
Yep, we played that one event in D2 or D1. You guys beat us on Avalanche. You were on that team, I think. World Cup.
You were playing with them then?
Yeah, it was me. I remember it was me. Todd Martinez was playing. Scott Kemp. Mouse wasn't on the team. Mouse was on the Ironman. It was Dalton. I can't remember who else. Rainey might have been on the team too. I think Rainey was on the team. And I remember talking to Mouse at World Cup, and he said he was coming back. And that was another reason. I was like, we could have a really good team next year. Yeah. So I ended up playing that full season with them until Mike pulled the plug on the team.
I remember Avalanche and Aftermath had a good little rivalry going on that year.
Yeah. Yep. So played with Aftermath. That was 2008 all the way till 2009 when I went back to the Hurricanes again because they were going to, they had got a pro X-ball spot.
Mm-hmm.
So at this time I'm playing, so let me back up a little. Being from the East Coast, there's not a lot of options for teams. So like, that's why I'm always traveling somewhere. And, there's not like, home teams where like you can consistently be on. So like for me, being this guy from the East Coast, it's hard for me to like find a team that I could stay with. And, at this time I'm like, all right, so going back to the Hurricanes, and I had Avalanche for 7-man with Frank. And I feel like the Hurricanes just weren't built for X-ball.
Mm-hmm.
They played 7-man for so long that transitioning over to X-ball, like we just couldn't figure it out. As a team, we just couldn't figure it out. We had experienced players like myself and Thomas Mantoni, and we brought in BJ from Strange back in the day to coach us, and we just couldn't figure it out.
Yeah.
And, we ended up just calling it quits, and Jeff pulled the plug on the team. Sponsorship was kind of gone, and everybody was kind of over it. And
so you jumped on Avalanche right when I left.
Avalanche, yes, correct. As soon as Frank took over the team, he called me and was like, "Hey, Avalanche is looking for players. We're an Eclipse team. I know you're playing for Hurricanes.
Yeah.
Do you want to play 7-man with us?" And I was like, "Yeah, man."
Yeah, because I think it was like halfway through the 2008 season is when I jumped over to Infamous, and it was really because of because I loved Avalanche. I think we had a pretty decent damn team, but there was like we weren't gonna play X-ball. I still wanted to play X-ball and 7-man, and it was like no, you can't do that. And I was like, dude, I'll find a team that has the same sponsors,
right.
All this, blah, blah, blah. He goes, no, not happening. And then I think he let Tiljack play for a team, and I'm like, what the fuck? Like, you're letting Danny play for. I want to go play for an X-ball team too, and that's when I jumped over to Infamous, and I think that's when you came on afterwards.
Yeah, I mean, it was hard back in the day to find a team that played both, and players like us, like we're like, I want to play everything.
Exactly.
This is my life. I didn't work a real job at the time. Like I played paintball full time, and so like I wasn't missing events. So it was hard to find a team that played both, and it was even hard to find two teams that are looking for a player with the same sponsors.
Oh yeah.
So yeah, I mean, I made it work. We had a solid showing with Avalanche. I think we finished in the top 2 a couple times. But, we were kind of like, towards the end, it became like a throw together team, guys from all over the place,
right.
Never practicing. And, we were just getting by pure skill, no teamwork really. We just, we just had good players at the time, and it just worked for us, but that doesn't work for that long, once teams start figuring it out.
Yeah.
It gets harder and harder. But that was 2009. 2010 started out as a nightmare. That was when, so the Hurricanes pulled the plug. They were done. They were bumping down to Division 1. They were done playing pro. They were rebuilding. And I remember Jeff called me. He's like, "Hey, this is going to be a rebuilding year. I don't know if you want to stick around for it. Maybe you come back in a year and we're ready to be competitive, but I'm going to take a step back and I'm going to rebuild with some new kids." So now my options were kind of limited. I'm like, shit, what do I do? And I remember Vicious at the time was bumping up to pro, and I needed to play for an Eclipse team because I was working at Eclipse at the time and had, I'd been with them for a while. And
I didn't know you worked there.
A lot of yeah, I worked there. I mean, I won't call it really work, but I was learning how to tech with what's his name, Jerry, and I was doing a lot of South America events, for Eclipse, and they're kind of teaching me how to do tech courses as well when I traveled. So I was loyal to Eclipse, so I wanted to stick with an Eclipse team, and Vicious seemed to be the right choice. But yeah, that turned out to be a nightmare.
Now, why was it a nightmare?
It just like, I mean, at first it was cool because like, I got along with Paulie. I knew Paulie pretty well, and I knew of some of the guys. I didn't really personally know them, but I mean, I don't know. I want to say maybe I was the different one, and when I came to the team, I just didn't fit in. Like I just didn't. It just didn't work. Like
Right.
I didn't find their jokes funny. I didn't.
Which
I
was
didn't
the
think
first
they
thing.
like I just like they were like just they were all like they'd say something stupid and they'd all laugh and I'd just be like, what? Cool. I don't know. I mean, maybe I was the dickhead that just didn't have the open mind, but whatever. Either way, I was uncomfortable there.
Yeah.
I didn't like all their little rules that they had, and
Sure.
frankly, I just didn't. I didn't think they were that good of a team at the time. And, they got better as time went on, but I didn't want to stick around for it. So
Yeah.
I started looking around for a new team. They found out, turned into a big fight. Whatever. I'm glad it happened because
So it was an ugly
after
breakup.
that, I got I mean, for them, for me, I was kind of like happy. So
Yeah.
So whatever. So what started out to be a nightmare turned into a dream because then I got picked up by Dynasty, and that was
Did you reach
that
out?
was the year. What's that?
Did you reach out to them?
I remember I was talking to Jacko of Eclipse, and he had said, Dynasty might be looking for a player. So he's like, I'm going to give Crandall your number. And I remember Crandall called me. It was just like, hey, like let's talk. Like, how can we make this work? And I remember there was a MAO event coming up, and he was like, okay, we're going to practice right after that. Can you come to the practice, then drive to the event with us? And I was like, yeah, let's do it. So I got picked up for that event, and we had a decent showing. I think we made the top 8, and then we lost. And then, God, it's so long ago. I can't remember what like actually happened in those events. But I mean, basically, that wasn't like that was when Dynasty like kind of like struggled a little bit.
Yeah.
That was when they didn't have Oliver, and I think who else were they missing? I don't remember, but I know like Alex, Yosh, and Ryan were there.
Mm-hmm.
So like it was really cool to be a part of like that core group of guys. And I want to say like I learned a lot playing with them and traveled a little bit with them, did some South Africa events, and I think Hinman came to coach us for World Cup. And we played pretty good at World Cup and lost in overtime to go to the top 4 to Damage. I remember we got a penalty right before it, and it was 4-5, and we lost one off the break. So
Yeah.
those are hard to win, especially against Damage at that time. They were one of the best teams. So the next going into 2011, I get a call from Hinman, and he's like, "Hey man, like I think Dynasty's cutting everybody who's flying in. They're going to be strictly Cali. Like I want to give you the heads up so you can look for a team." And I'm like, "Oh, this again." And like basically, yeah. Archie was on the team at the time. Chad George. I can't remember who else, but everybody who was flying in. Yeah, everybody who was flying in got cut, and that was the year Oliver came back, and they built a California squad. So now I was kind of stuck without a team, and like I said before, the Hurricanes were rebuilding, and the plan was for me to come back eventually.
Mm-hmm.
So I ended up going back, but I think I only played 2 events that year. We won one of them in D1, but I mean, to me it was like, oh cool,
Right.
come back to D1 and win it, a big deal. And then I had like other things going on in life, so like I was missing some events.
Mm-hmm.
And the next year was 2012, and I remember Frank Connell was like, hey, like, let's talk about starting like building Avalanche up. Let's make Avalanche X-Ball. Let's make Avalanche 7-man. Let's do this. And I'm like, hell yeah, like I'm in. Let's do it. And like time was just ticking, and like nothing was really happening.
Mm-hmm.
And it seemed like we were all set for 7-man, but I didn't think we were going to play X-Ball. And that was during the off season, I got a call from Archie. And Archie and I had played on Dynasty together, and he's like, hey man, like what are your plans for next year? You're kind of like bouncing all over the place. Like, what's going on? And I'm like, well, my plans right now are just, I think Avalanche is going to build something. He's like, hey man, he's like, we're looking for a player. Like, we need a state guy. He's like, dude, I played with you. Like, I know you'll fit in with us. I think you should come out. Like, we're having these tryouts. He's like, I'm pretty sure if you come out, like, you'll make it. He's like, and Alex thinks so too, because Alex knew me as a player, but I didn't know Alex personally back then. I just knew him, just being at events. And he's like, hey, Alex is even willing to, pay your ticket to come out here.
Oh, nice.
So I was like, hell yeah, I'm in. And, I went out there with an open mind. I was like, I don't care who I'm playing against right now. Like, Eclipse was there filming this tryout, and I'm like, I'm going to show these kids what I got. I'm going to show X Factor that I can play paintball. Like, I don't care who I'm playing against. So I went out there, and I just played my ass off. And I remember at the end of the tournament, or at the end of the tryout, Alex was like, hey, man, you really impressed me. And, like, it takes a lot for someone who's an established pro player to, like, go through a tryout like this. And he's like, I respect that. And, from there on out, like, me and Alex were just, we saw eye to eye, and he respected me for doing that. And, I always say the real tryout was Saturday night when we all went out partying. And, that was like the bonding night that we were like, all right, Billy's cool. He can hang out with us. But, for me, like, X Factor was always like, the cool guys at the event always having the most fun. Like, afterwards, everybody's going out and, like for example, like World Cups, everybody's going to Old Town afterwards. And I just remember X Factor was always like the loud, younger kids just always having a good time. And I'd always be like, I didn't really know them, but just like watching them and be like, oh, those guys are fucking cool.
Yeah.
And, so honestly, that was the best decision I ever made. I remember taking a lot of negative words from Frank Connell at the time for turning my back on him and going over there. But to me, it was the best decision my paintball career that I made throughout my whole career.
For sure.
It was the best fit for me, and it just. I mean, I'm still there after this is my 6th year. So I mean, as
6 years already.
2012.
Jeez.
So 5 years. Yeah, it'll be 6 years. This is the 6th year.
See, and that's a crazy thing because you've been the one solid outside dude that has just been so consistent for them.
I mean, dude. They're not an easy team to really fit in with unless you really fit in. I mean, we've gone through Zach Wake was there. It started out good, didn't work out. Scott Kemp, we love Scott. Scott's our boy, but just playing wise, like his playing style didn't fit in. For you too, like you came, you played, your playing style just wasn't working. I mean, I don't know what it is with X Factor, but it's really just like it's a different style that like you either have it or you don't, and that's why they've gone through so many people, and that's why for me it was such a good fit that it's worked for all these years, and they've continued to fly me out there. But like I said, I mean, it was the best decision I made, and it really. I don't think I'd be playing paintball anymore if I didn't make that move.
Really?
So it kind of, I might have played a couple more years, but it was getting kind of hard and getting frustrating going back and forth trying to find a team. And, finding this team that's basically like a family now, like feel like I'm best friends with some of these guys now and, I have these friendships forever. And it definitely redefined my whole career.
Yeah, I feel like I have been super fortunate to be a part of the program for 1 year, and I definitely didn't take the experience for granted. That's for sure. It's because all those kids, every single one of them, including yourself, are so determined to win and be better every single every point, every game, every tournament. And Alex is such a down to earth, this is how it is, and he's one of those guys too, though. Like, even though he's present, if the situation calls for it, he will let you know that he's present, right? But other than that, he's kind of in the background, letting the team be the team. And I think that's what I respect so much about him, is he's not in there trying to move the puzzle pieces around to see what happens. He really lets Ryan do his job. He lets you guys do your job, and he kind of just oversees it. But if he needs to come in and do something about it, he will.
Right. I 100% agree. I mean, the way I look at Alex, he's like a true man. Like he built himself up. He has great business going. He does all this paintball for Texas, and I mean, he's just he's there to win. Like, he's competitive. He wants us to win. When I'm on the field, like, I want to win for him because I love what he does. I love what he does for us. I love how he treats us. I feel like I put that extra effort in and play that much harder for Alex. And I mean, I just he deserves it. He's done everything right, and he's continuing to just keep doing it for us. He's not doing it for any other reason. He's not doing it because he wants to play. He still plays with us, but I mean, he wants us to win. He does it because he truly loves this.
Yeah.
And I mean, I respect the hell out of that. And he's paying out of his own pocket to fly me to Texas every week before the events. So, I mean, in paintball, I don't think I can say I respect anyone as much as Alex.
Yeah, no, he's definitely up there, even for myself as well. The 1 year that I got to be on there, it was just the amount of caring and respect that I gained for him, and what I saw in his caring and emotions towards the team itself. It's like it's his kid. That
right.
paintball team is his. It's hard to explain, but it isn't, because I feel like that's what every owner should be.
Yeah, he has turned us into a family. Like, I look at the guys next to me and I truly care about them. And this is all what Alex built, and this is how he built his team. Like, we are a true family. Like, when we put our hands in and we say family, like, we mean it and we feel it, and we're out there fighting for each other. And I feel like Ryan Brand as a coach, like, he's our friend, but he is a respected coach. Like, we respect him as a coach, and he is constantly working. Like, we talk during the week, and he is working on things, what we're going to do at the event, what we're going to do for practice, what moves we're going to make, player wise, even in the off season. Like, I talk to Ryan Brand at least 3 times a week, and it's all about what are we doing next? And he is just that, he's always a step ahead, and that's, I respect the hell out of him as a coach. He's a younger coach, and he played the game, he understands the game, and he is, I mean, to me, he's one of the top coaches by far.
Oh, 100%. And you can tell that by how consistent you guys are. Because, because you guys being on the field is one thing, but the guy with the clipboard is another. And that
100%.
whole machine with Alex, with Ryan, with you guys, you can tell that it's well, generously greased. And I mean, because you guys are how you guys were in Dallas or in Vegas? Where'd you end up?
I believe we finished 4th.
And then in Dallas,
I believe we finished 4th again.
4th or 3rd? Yeah, it was 4th or 3rd.
Yes,
I think. But
4th.
The consistency of the team is just, and the talent level is ridiculous.
I mean, we finished 3rd place the last 3 events last year. So I mean, making the top 4 isn't our goal anymore. I mean, it's kind of getting old. Like, we want to win an event. And it seems like every time we lose that top 4 game, it's by a point or 2, and it's, because a call went the wrong way, or, because, something stupid every time. So it's just about, what Alex always tells us is about finding that, that level where we can just go out there and just do it. Just go out there and do it. Don't think about it too much. 0-0 every time you walk on the field. Just mistake free. And Archie's good at kind of motivating us at the mistake free. It comes down to, a lot of these games come down to a 3-on-3 that lasts at least 2-3 minutes.
Right.
And the first one to make a mistake is who's going to lose. We're all professional paintball players. We all know how to capitalize on a mistake. Yeah. So it's really just mistake-free paintball. If you can play mistake-free paintball, you're going to win tournaments. And if you make that mistake, you're going to lose. It's that simple. If I do something stupid, something selfish, if I'm on the field and I do something selfish to try to make a move and it's a mistake and I lose my body and I didn't value my body, we're going to lose that point because I was selfish, And it goes for anybody on our team, anybody on any team. If you do a selfish move and you get shot, you're putting your team, in a bad spot. And, it's one thing to forget about it and go out there and win the next point. But I feel like when it comes down to the top four and in the top two, it's down to the points are so much longer, and the match just kind of like unfolds after the second point. It's either like you're going to win it or you're going to lose it.
Mm-hmm.
So, I mean, and it's, a lot of it is teamwork and communication. And those long drawn out points, it's all about communication, figuring it out together, making moves off of each other. And I feel like that's why Impact's so good, because they lose a body, they hunch down, they communicate, they talk to each other, they figure it out, they even up the body count, and they don't make mistakes. And that's why they've been in the top finals every freaking event for the past 2 years.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, it's not rocket science. It's just about being mistake free.
Now, what do you think X Factor is missing, not being able to break into the finals?
I mean, I feel like we have what we need. Like, we're not missing any players or anything. Like, this is the lineup that we can do damage with. I think it's just, like I said, like, we're losing the 3-on-3 points, losing a 1-on-1 here and there. Just, it's coming right down to the wire, and it's just not going our way yet, So we need to be more consistent. We need to be able to lose a body and hunker down and figure it out together as a team. And those are some of the things that Ryan has prepared drills for us to figure out. And, that's how we've been practicing.
Yeah.
So
now I want to go back to our match in Dallas.
Okay.
Now, when you guys were going into the match, did you? And I'm assuming that you did. Did Ryan have you kind of a game plan for us? Did you guys watch our match against the Outlaws and kind of have a good idea of what we were going to do?
What day did we play? Do you remember?
I believe it was Friday. No. It was Saturday. Because
Saturday
I think it was first
morning?
game Saturday. Yeah.
Yeah, for sure. So Ryan, we usually go to bed because I think we had afternoon sessions. So we ate and then we all went to bed. Ryan and David Griffin, who's our assistant coach, they usually stay up and they watch footage and they take notes and they share it with us in the morning. So, like I said, you could do something, 10 times, and Ryan could be thinking like, all right, he's going to change that because he did it 10 times and it only worked 4 times or something, and he'll be ready for that. But yeah, like Ryan, we have our codes to call before the point and figure out like who's going to go where. And we're prepared for each team and personnel as well.
Yeah.
So, I'm sure, if you see me in a sprint stance, Bruno has a code that I'm going to go snake off the break, So it's the same, similar things that, like, Ryan's doing for us.
Damn, I feel like we had a really good match because we were coming off that kind of sour loss against Heat because I feel like we were in that game. But I feel like we had a really good match. It was really bad.
Honestly, you guys have a lot of new guys on your team, and before we practiced you, we probably didn't give you the respect you guys deserved. And once we practiced you guys, we were like, these guys could fucking play. Like, these new kids are good paintball players. So, we're like, we cannot come out flat against Aftershock. We have to play Aftershock. And you want to play everybody as they're, as they're the Impact,
Yeah.
You want to play everybody like they're, they can beat you. But, you know how it is. You're playing a fourth-tier team or something. You're like, playing PC Katana. Let's go out there and look for the glory moves. Well, you can't really do that when you respect the team. And I feel like after that practice, we respected you guys more. And, we had to play our game to beat you.
Yeah, I think we really we stepped on our dicks so much, especially because I feel like you guys went up a couple points on us, and then we sent 6 guys out there, and I think the momentum just...
Yeah, I forgot about that. But, man, I remember being in my bunker and being like, what the fuck just happened?
Yeah.
And they're like, get back in your bunkers. So, I'm like loading my loader, and I'm like, okay, now what? Like, I thought someone shot the bunker, and like Ryan Brand's like yelling like back left 3 or 1. He's like telling us where you guys are.
Yeah.
And then like all of a sudden they're like, get off the field, and we're like, what the fuck? And then like we get off the field, and Alex is like, they had 6 guys out there, and I was like, oh my god.
Hey, dude.
Okay. I mean, like I don't know. I mean, maybe you can answer the question. Like, how did that go down?
Okay, so
just
so I wasn't out there, but I kind of.
All right, let's just clarify.
Let's clear that. I played the point before, and I needed a breather because I have asthma. But I needed a breather, and I'm kind of watching it, and I guess, I guess Bruno was like yelling out spots of who needs to go out there, and he was telling LJ Parrish, he was like, okay, I need you to go here, and then LJ kind of started to walk away, and he said next point, and then he started calling off on the other spots. So all LJ heard was that he needed to go here, and then before you know it,
I just remember talking to Nick, and Nick was like, yeah, I broke out, heard the horn, I looked to the left, saw 3 guys, looked to the right, saw 2 guys. I was like, oh shit. And he's like, Nick knew like right away when the buzzer went off. You know, like we're all like confused. Like Nick told me, he's like, I knew right away. I was like, damn it. Yeah, I agree. I think right then and there, that's like a huge error. And like we were saying before, like mistake-free paintball. You know, those mistakes carry over. You make a mistake, you know, who's gonna blow up on you in the pit when you go in there? Once your pit is all screwed up, now you're trying to like figure your shit out and like, you know, get yourself back together. You go out there and you know you have another bad point. So, yeah, I agree. It's a game of momentum.
Well, one thing I do disagree on is I feel like if they're going to give you guys the automatic point, I feel like we shouldn't have to start with 4 the next point.
I didn't know that was a thing actually either. I didn't know that you started with 4 the next point.
Yeah, it was an automatic point, that point for you guys. So there was that, and then the next point we had to start with 4, and then we lost that point. So like right when the 6-man action happened. Yeah. Like, dude, I was in the pits and I saw it go down, and when I heard what it was, I kind of lost it a little bit. I grabbed a bag of paint and I threw it against the table because I knew, like, I knew at that point against a team like X Factor, like you guys, that was the fucking sword in the heart because
we're a team that feeds off momentum.
Oh, exactly.
We get that little momentum, like we're all coming, you know. So, yeah, I can imagine how you were feeling after that.
Oh, my God, because I felt like we were on the momentum coming back, like getting back into the game, and that happens, and it's just a fucking downward spiral after that. And, you know, against you guys, I knew that it was going to be tough to be able to come back from that. But who'd you guys drop to? Because you guys made it Sunday, and who'd you drop to?
So the next game we played was Heat. That was the last prelims game, and we lost in overtime to them. We went into.
Did that put them on
Sunday? We were both. That was just for the top 2 seed.
Oh,
so it was whoever won it was the first seed. Whoever lost was the second seed. So we ended up losing it in overtime. It was a really good game though, and we drew the Russians first round. We beat them pretty convincingly. I can't remember the final score, but we beat them by a good amount. I remember the momentum change. It was a long, drawn out. I think it was a 2-on-3 at one point, and it was me and Archie, and I had shot the snake guy and filled in the snake. And I remember Malloy was in the snake and snuck out of it, you know, doing Malloy things. And you know, me and Archie just had such good communication to figure out what was going on, that once we figured it out, Archie makes this move and just, you know, shoots the last 2 guys, and we win the point right there and just took all the momentum. So then we drew Impact next, and they've knocked us out of I think 5 or 6 tournaments now.
Jeez.
But yeah, it was again, there was a lot of drawn out points, and we won the first one, lost the second one, and man, I've watched this game so many times too. I just don't even want to talk about it.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's just dumb things, man. It's just we ended up going into. I think we went into. Oh, we were about to go into overtime, there was like a minute and 20 left, and it's a tie game.
Mm-hmm.
And we went out there, and we're like, hey, we're going to risk Billy going snake off the break. If that happens, Grayson moves into this other bunker and crosses, and
if you make it
overtime. If we lose me, we were set up. Ryan set up to go into overtime. So I went snake off the break. I remember getting shot in my heel and my foot diving in, and I was like hoping the ref didn't see it.
You could feel it, yeah.
Yeah, I felt it. He saw it, and I'm like, what? Oh man! But having said that, we shot one of their guys out, so it was a 4-on-4.
Yeah.
But the way Ryan had set the play up was that Grayson needed to make a move so that we were kind of like crossed, and Grayson never made that move. I don't remember what happened. Like Mike looked inside from that, that back little mini W.
Yeah.
And Grayson stayed because there was a W guy, and it got Grayson and Colt stuck in the back center, or it was Grayson and LJ. Either way, that move never happened. So Mike turns, and then all of a sudden they just come flying down. Archie tries to make a move to release some pressure for the guys stuck in back center. He gets shot. They come down, shoot everybody, and we hang the flag with like 20 seconds left. And the next point was the 22nd point, and those, those are hard to win. I mean, you got to get a good break. You got to get G's off the break. So yeah, I mean, I think we lost like 2 guys off the break, and just never really had a chance to win that point. And that was just, Yeah. So we, it was a good game. I mean, we always have good games with Impact. And I mean, there was no one to blame. I mean, you look after the game. I mean, there was really no one to blame. I mean, yeah, Grayson didn't make that move, but like, we still could have like held it down. And I don't know. I mean, just we're right there. Little things that are just that could have went either way. We both lost the guy off the break. Whoever wanted it more then was going to take it, and we got stuck in the back bunkers.
Yeah,
and they attacked, so they took it.
I know that you guys are on the verge of breaking that finals, and hopefully it could be against Aftershock, because I feel like
why not?
I feel like fuck, man. It's like we've definitely taken our beatings already this year, and there's no. I mean, we're in fucking last place, so it's like we don't really have any other option, at least in my eyes, than to just suck it up and just start coming out and performing.
Yeah, and I mean, I feel like your guys, because they're newer, like they're only going to get better. So, having an experienced player like yourself and Bruno, I mean, you're only going to make those guys better. And like you said, you're in last place. There's nowhere to go but up. So you have no pressure on you. And I hate playing teams like that. I hate playing teams that have nothing to lose, because you never know what the hell they're going to do. And I know you guys don't want to be last place, and I know you guys are better than last place. So, I'm hoping we don't have to draw you guys.
Yeah.
I don't think we did, though.
No. I think AC is going to be a good event. It has to be, because I don't have much time playing left. So, I want every match and every point and every tournament to mean something. So.
Yeah, for sure.
Well, Billy, I really appreciate you sitting down with me and chatting.
Yeah, man. I appreciate you having me on here. I think these are definitely really cool, and I'm glad you're doing it for the sport.
No, thank you. And I feel like stories like yours and other pros and other people and influences in our sport, the stories need to be heard. And what better way than the horse's mouth?
For sure.
So, well, Billy, I will see you soon, because I know we'll run into each other sometime in AC.
Yeah.
So
absolutely.
So I appreciate it, man.
Hit some casinos.
Yeah. Dude, I have terrible luck gambling as well.
Yeah, me too. No, I'm really good.
All right, buddy. Well, safe travels to wherever you go, man.
Yeah, for sure, man.
All right, we'll see you.
Okay. All right, later.
Yeah, I'm glad I was able to sit down with Billy and kind of see where he came from. Didn't really know his story, and I know he was from the East Coast, but I thought it was pretty cool that he just started playing paintball, not at a paintball field, but like in a building and in the woods, and that's kind of where his love and respect for the sport kind of started to grow. And it's always interesting because I would have said like a birthday party or something like that, but you know, I'm surprised every time whenever I talk to these guys. So make sure to go over and find Billy on Instagram. It's just Billy Bernacchia, no space, last name Bernacchia, and that's Billy Bernacchia. And on Facebook, same thing, Billy Bernacchia. Go follow him. Great guy, and you know, amazing athlete and snake player. So thank you so much, Billy. Another quick shout out to our sponsors, drpaintball.com. Again, they have marker and gear financing for anybody out there that needs a little help getting some of the best gear out there. So drpaintball.com. Also, Midwest Clothing LLC.com for all of your headgear needs or your tech mat needs, or really any custom products you guys want out there that they can provide. They will help you out. Vantrition.com for your sporting supplements, preload, reload, proteins. They also have samples if you want to check them out. Vantrition.com. Planet Eclipse, makers of the CS 1.5, the newest marker that they have out, but they also have the program paintball pants that are out there. They have the jerseys, they have the other markers, they have the G-Tag, they have all kinds of stuff. Make sure to check them out at planeteclipse.com, and also to carbonpaintball.com. Not only do they make the base layer for you know, tournament or recreational play, they also have an awesome pair of pants over there, a jersey, and a pack. And the pack is I'm pretty sure the most popular thing. It has a little pump on the side to form to your back to make sure that thing doesn't slip around. Because that's one of the bigger issues that I have anyway, is like whenever I dive into the snake, I can never get my pack tight enough, and I'm always like adjusting it as I'm diving out to a corner or something like that. So make sure to check it out at carbonpaintball.com. And guys, remember, you know, it's, you know, without you, this is really tough to do. I'd be talking to nobody. So I really appreciate it, and make sure you check me out at cmarkizzle on Instagram. Also, the Playing On podcast over there on that little thing called Instagram. Facebook is Carl Microwave Markowski, and the podcast is under the Playing On podcast. So make sure to like, share, you know, all that good stuff. Get the word out there and keep listening. That's the biggest thing. You know, I enjoy doing these, and I hope to bring you guys more content each and every week. So thank you for that. And until next time, guys, we will be right here on this little stage that I have set up in my basement to hopefully be a little studio. So thanks for listening, everybody. We'll see ya.